Welcome back. Matt Werbach with Columbia Gorge Magazine, the editor, is with us today. And you actually grew up in a small town called Paynesville, and that was just outside of Cleveland on sort of the shores of Lake Erie. Is that right?
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes east of Cleveland, so we all say we're from Cleveland to people from the outside, but yeah, it's its own little town kind of out there about halfway up Lake Erie, almost closer to Pennsylvania than it is to Cleveland. So
okay. How did that influence, what was that like growing up out there?
You know, I didn't know any better. Obviously, looking back now with some hindsight, it was certainly very interesting. Out here, you know, we're in a very environmentally conscious place, and Cleveland had its darker days, as did Paynesville. There were a lot of factories along the waterfront there and everything, and but it influenced me a lot as far as getting outdoors, on really understanding my environment. And we had a lake, we had sand dunes, we had a marsh, we had some rolling hills. That's not what a lot of people think of when they think of Ohio, but the Great Lakes region is really quite different. And so I grew up, you know, learning to fish and going out on my grandfather's boat pretty much every weekend. So grew up on the water, grew up in that environment where a lot of people don't think, oh, you know, you can take your boat out and spend weekends on the water and things like that in Ohio. But yeah, that's what I did.
Okay. And then you earned your degree from Wittenberg
Yes.
University, and that was in writing or English and creative writing?
Yeah, I graduated in 2004, and the degree is an English degree, but you pick a departmental concentration. And I didn't want to go to strictly the literature study route because I was really getting more into creating my own work, doing my own thing. So after studying poetry and journalism and fiction and even creative nonfiction, I settled on fiction probably because of who my influences were and everything, and it's still a big part of what I do in my own time. So
okay. And then after graduating, you moved to Chicago, and you wanted to obviously be in some sort of writing type of position, but there wasn't a lot available to you at the time, I understand. So you ended up working for Barnes & Noble. Mm-hmm. So you were around lots of books, around lots of people that were interested in writing and reading. And
yeah, I lived in Cleveland for a year, and that's where I first got the job with Barnes & Noble. And we, I struggled. It was 2004 was kind of the end of that tech bubble had burst. Things weren't necessarily too easy. Not a lot of entry-level jobs. So after searching around for a while, I figured I could at least be around books, have access to books. And so it did have a huge influence on where I went from there. I was able to, read everything I could basically see in the store. I could take books out. I could buy all the books at a cheaper price. I ended up with quite a library and really got a chance to kind of study. And I also got to be around authors. I was at an author signing store, so I got to meet a lot of people. That was by the time I got to Chicago, and kind of see that authors were real people and that it could be done, and that was really inspirational on its own too. Okay.
And then you had worked up into like a management position with the company, and is that also where you met your fiancée?
Yeah, we didn't meet through the job. We met through a mutual friend when we were in Chicago, and I had worked my way into management, which just took me further and further away from the books and from what I love doing, and more into human resource and making sure people were paid on time, which is very important, but just wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. Right. And so we met in Chicago, and as we were kind of falling out of love with the city life and the hustle and bustle, we're both Midwesterners from Indiana and Ohio, we kind of decided that it was time to do what we had sort of dreamt of doing our whole lives, both individually obviously, and just pack up and head west. So.
Yeah. Now, did you guys, when you first relocated to Portland, was that very intentional, or was that just sort of, Portland sounds like a good spot on the West Coast?
Well, I'm not a California guy. A little too much sunshine for me, and so it was Seattle, Portland, something like that. Ann has family up in Seattle, so we kind of wanted to be a little bit away, do something on our own, and really live that sort of Kerouacian fantasy, which I don't recommend to other people. But we chose Portland very intentionally. A big freelance writing market, a lot of, as everyone knows, a lot of free newspapers, free magazines, things like that. So there's writing jobs there. And of course, we didn't know that the entire economy was going to come crashing down in 2008 as we were driving out there.
So when you came out here, you guys did not have jobs, or at least you did not have a job?
Neither one of us had a job. Okay. She had some experience, and she had some alumni from her university that were out here, so she got a little bit of a head start with networking, and I really struggled. It's great to have some management experience, but there's a lot of retail jobs out there and a lot of retail managers, so it's pretty difficult to convince people that you have what it takes to get it done. I had the degree and I had some writing background. I even had a fiction story that was about to get picked up for a small publication, but I didn't have the full portfolio that a lot of people have, and it was in a time when journalists were getting cut left and right. So there wasn't much for me. Yeah.
Very tough time there. Yeah. So in the next segment, we'll talk then about how you ended up with one of our company, or in our company with Columbia Gorge Magazine. So we'll be right back, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We've got Matt Werbach right here on Localite.